night. And then there's Super Square, and Super Square is absolutely incredible. It's a trio, a husband and wife, and brothers. And I do a lot of collaborations with Super Square. I'd say Alex, he's the main producer in Super Square. He's probably one of the most talented producers that I know. And
that's saying a lot.
It's saying a lot. Yeah, yeah. He's incredible. Helen's voice is incredible, and they're going to be doing a wicked set. They have developed a pretty great core following here in the Pacific Northwest. And then there's Decadon, and Decadon is from Denver. He's a young guitar player producer. I've been mentoring him, and we've been collaborating. We just put out his record, and he's a beast. And he even has fans meeting him at the airport now, which is like, that's really big actually. Like
that's huge.
It's huge. Yeah. Even like there's very few places that Pendulum will go. We've sold millions of records that people will actually wait for us at the airport. Figure out what your flight is, however they do it, and meet you there, or wait maybe 8 hours for you to show up. Who knows? But anyways, and then there's me, and we're all gonna kind of. So Super Square and I have a collaboration, and then so we'll do some joining of forces on stage, and then Decadon and I will do some collaboration as well, and it's gonna be kind of a dirty rave, really.
Yeah, my favorite.
Dirty rave party. And I think there's a side room. I'm not sure who's playing the side room. Probably a bunch of people.
Oh yeah, the little bar room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like that little area.
It's a fun place.
You should come, Harris. And Erica.
I will try my best. Let's talk about your biggest, most memorable fan experience to date.
In Japan, or I'm sorry, not Japan. In Korea, and South Korea is amazing. It's an amazing place.
And just speaking of just recently in the news, North Korea and South Korea now they ended the war, from what I saw, and the two sides. I just saw this recently on the news. They signed an agreement into place that I believe the conflict ended between the two countries.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, how long did that conflict go on? Like 20 years?
A long time.
Or?
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah. So the people, promoters, and everyone there was insanely nice, insanely cool, and. There was these fans waiting outside our hotel room, and a couple of them got into our hotel room, or our hotel, and were waiting for us in the lobby area. And the lobby was weird. It was like on the 22nd floor. That was where the lobby was, and then our rooms were above it. These buildings over there were the biggest buildings that I've ever seen, and it was pretty mind blowing going to the country where literally 100 kilometers away was the North Korean border, where they just have guns pointing at each other and everything. And apparently they had. Yeah, past tense. So South Korea apparently blasts K-pop at North Korea, and then the North Koreans have guns. They're like, and they're angry or whatever, and South Korea is just like laughing because K-pop's huge, and like I don't know, it's similar to Japan, where like they have these little dolls, and like everything is really cute, and there's tons of Hello Kitty stuff, and like. The world is just filled with cuteness. It's crazy. Like it's the weirdest thing, and I love it. It's like it seems like they really enjoy life and really explore the esoteric, the weird, and the funny. And everything is like they have fun with their food. Some of the you're like, what am I even eating right now? This is the weirdest thing ever. A lot of similarities between Japan, but so they were waiting for us, and they had these little dolls that they made for us. They had all kinds of little gifts, like gift baskets filled with chocolates and filled with weird Korean stuff, and they would explain exactly what the Korean candies were and things. They were super into their candies and little dolls and things, and that was quite the fan experience, I'd say. Like.
So you would say out of all the years that you've been a massive success in the business and all the people that you put smiles on people's faces all over the world, that would be the number one.
It was pretty remarkable. Yeah.
So leading on to the next question, and you may have touched on this a little bit earlier, but out of all the venues that you performed at up to date, what's been the most enjoyable, most memorable spot to perform at from all over the world?
Well, Scavry.
Epic. Lost Lands was epic.
Lost Lands was a centerpiece in
Dude,
the
they
mind.
had 40, 80-foot dinosaurs all over the place. It was the coolest thing I've probably ever seen.
Fan perspective.
And it was my birthday, so it was even better.
Is it the same day this year?
This year's the Sunday's on my birthday.
Okay.
It's going to be...
Same birthday weekend.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's really special for Nolan here. Fan perspective, I think it got voted the best festival of last year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It was insane. And my set was great. I was in this huge tent. They basically have two main stages. Probably one of the best overall experiences, but some of the best shows I'd say have to be in Finland. Pendulum was playing this it was Nova Rock, I think. Finland has quite a few festivals throughout the year, really big ones, and we were just looking out, and the people kind of went uphill. It was kind of like a Red Rock scene, and we started and then when we dropped it, like the whole entire crowd started circling, and I was just looking. I was like, oh my god! Like if I was out there, I would die. And it was just this fierce energy, and everyone was so freaking ecstatic. And there were most of the Pendulum shows, like everyone screams the lyrics. Like the whole crowd is singing along, and they sing along to the riffs too. Da 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 da. Like
soccer chants.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I really don't hear a whole lot of that. And everybody moshes and stuff to bass music nowadays and stuff, and it's really big in America too. Headbanging, rail breaking,
especially Seattle.
Yeah, but back then, the only real moshing to electronic music was in Europe and the UK, and so that was a real pinnacle moment for sure. Is seeing this monster circle pit, and I thought everybody was going to die.
What would you say goes through your brain? Like what's your brain telling you and speaking to you on a communication angle? Like before you hit the stage, whether you're doing a show like coming up this Friday at Stage here in Seattle, where we broadcast the show from. We actually broadcast in Bellevue, but the vicinity is very close. Or to shows that you've been doing, in the thousands, in just high, 20,000 plus.
Yeah.
There must be something that you're telling yourself, or that people are telling you, whether it's your crew or your band. Like, do you guys do like a little ritual? Do you guys have like a little kind of what's the kind of the shoulder to shoulder, a little like kind of circular dance that a lot of bands do that you see do before they hit the stage? What kind of goes through your mind and your brain, KJ, before you hit the stage?
I'll go from the highest emotion to the smallest emotion. The highest emotion and the most crazy shit that's going through my brain is with the Pendulum show. We have these specific songs that everybody knows, and so every single guitar riff, every single guitar pluck, every single stick hit, these fans know. And so every time we change it up, they love it, and they crave it, and they're eager to like grab the set list, post the set list online, and they're just really adoring fans that have so much love for each and every hit. And so we know that going out there, and it creates a real specific excitement, because we know we're going to deliver what these fans are they're shouting, Pendulum, Pendulum. We're like, okay, here we go, the countdown, from the dressing room onto the stage. Maybe it's about 5 minutes or so.
Like the European Metallica, in a sense.
Yeah. I'm warming up my hands, so I don't cramp up. Cramping up is a real issue sometimes because it's all drum and bass. It's all very fast music, and if I'm not just warming up all the way until I play, I could cramp up. It happens, and then it sucks when I'm playing. So the physical element is actually really important. And then going through my mind, I'm just I tell this to all my peers and my students and stuff and the people I mentor, is the most important thing that you can do.
Go ahead.
The most important thing you can do is just play your part as perfectly as possible. And that's really it. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of face you're making. It doesn't matter if I'm drooling on the side of my mouth. Like,
They'd probably like it more if you were.
yeah, like, it doesn't matter, like, if I have my eyes closed, if I have my eyes open, or whatever. The most important thing is just playing the part as best you can. And if you improvise on it, or whatnot, like the classic jazz rule is, if you fuck up, if you make a mistake, do the same thing twice, and then it's not a mess up because you meant to do it. And if you do it, if I hit that beat slightly ahead or slightly off, if I do it again, the same bar, it legitimately sounds like I meant to do it. It sounds like it's supposed to be there.
KJ, so I just want to say, Maurino Daniel says that you are the greatest drummer in the world, and hello from London.
Thank you so much.
That's that's power right there. That's power of social media. That's power of Studio 110.live. And once again, if you're just tuning into the big show right now, Studio 110.live, KJ Saka, an iconic figure in the scene that he represents so well on small stages, on large stages. Just great too. And it just shows how my buddy Steve Lobel was on with me a few days ago, another iconic name in the music business. He referred to it, and I completely agree. It's not the music industry, it's the business. We don't burn bridges. We keep relationships intact. We have good communication. We look out for each other. And like that's being said, this is what this show is about here. The show is about good relationships, like you and I and Nolan, and and my show producer Erica, and everybody, as a collective tied here. All right, moving forward. We just my last question was kind of the thought process that goes through your brains before you kick off the show. Do you enjoy doing more of the smaller shows, like a stage, for example, that you're doing this Friday? Do you enjoy doing more of the larger festivals where you have 20,000 plus, if not more, in the crowd watching you?
Yeah, I mean, with more eyes on you, there could be more nerves, and I learned a long time ago that feeling something, having those nerves, is actually a really good thing. It shows that you're alive, shows that you're human, and it shows that you really enjoy doing what you're doing. Although, instead of just a piss take, I'm going to go freaking rage and be God for freaking 100,000 people, having the nerves shows that you really care about your craft. And I'm really conscientious of I am affecting and have the potential to affect 20,000 people in front of me, and if it's broadcast, like, way more, on a good, positive or negative level, and potentially for the rest of that person's life.
Sure.
And it's a really serious thing. I really take it to heart.
Yes.
And especially with what I say on social media, like, these people, they could take something that we say or a performance, and they could live by that for the rest of their life. It's like,
Yeah.
we all have our people that we look up to, our mentors,
yes,
our heroes. And so I know that's a real thing, and a person could have just one fan, and they're famous, I think, because they're famous to that person.
Yeah.
So it makes them famous.
Yeah.
So I understand that, and I think it's a responsibility that some people need to nurture more. Some people it's hilarious, like at first when Dead was like crazy on Twitter, and we're like, oh my God, like, what the hell is he saying, like jeopardizing his career or whatever. But then, like, he kind of sunk into it, and we all understand who he is, and he's really kind of hard on his sleeve, and he just says what he says. And now it's not really, like, it's not necessarily egotistical. He's not really being offensive necessarily. He's just being who he is. But at first, it was like, whoa, it was a little of the wow factor, and people were set back. But now I think he also understands how big of an impact that he can make. And I mean, if you say something negative or about certain things, like, a person could legitimately go do something really bad to themselves or something like that. And that shit is real.
And we just saw that recently with Avicii.
Yeah.
28 years old. I mean,
Bless
you know,
his soul.
he just couldn't handle the pressure and the amount of money that he made in such a quick amount of time. I mean, you know, the family and management have come out now a few times, and I've reported it on my show here at Studio 110.live. I think he had $88 million, and he couldn't, you know, fully understand making that amount of money so quickly, so rapidly, and he just wanted to be just an average guy. And it caught up to him. And, you know, you can see it, you can look at it from both standpoints. You can look at it from a lot of people would be very happy with that type of money. And a lot of people just, you know, want to be able to just do what they do what they love, but not have the pressure, not have the stardom, not have the money and everything associated with that.
Yeah, I mean, especially with that type of money, or I mean, even $8,000 in the bank or $8,000 cash in your hand, it attracts people, and it can be positive and negative. It always attracts positive and negative in every way, and people want to take it somehow, and you just have to constantly deal with that pressure, and it can be scary, you know. And that's why surrounding yourself, your circle of influence, with such positivity, with family values, with people that really got your back, that really care about you, is so crucial. That's why a lot of famous people will live way out, because, I mean, they signed up for it no matter what. At the end of the day, everybody is like, okay, well, I chose to do this. You know, it's a conscious decision, but they do have the choice to like live away from so many people, private jets and everything. You know, it is possible to get away, but then you have this whole slew of other issues with that, you know, depression being a really, really big one. And we see it every day. There's been many...
we saw it with Kurt Cobain. We saw it with DJ Am. We just see it from time on and time. You know, we just see it time again. And it's unfortunate, because a lot of these people have, you know, young kids, they have families, and they're just in a place that they can't go on. The light switch effect doesn't come into play for them, where they can't, like you just said, it's one kind of, possible way to kind of think about it, where you kind of live in the outskirts and you can separate it, you can turn it on and off, and you don't have to have the private jets and the multiple cars, and you can just be real like you know, a guy like you, just a real down-to-earth type of guy, not someone that has a massive ego. Because another thing too, you can see how an ego can absolutely ruin you in this business.
Man, 100%, yeah. And some people have to work on it a lot more than others. Yeah. You know, and it's just the circle of influence too. If everyone's all like, "Yo, man, get that, fuck that person," or whatever, that can really, and you're like, "Yeah, you know, screw all those people," or whatever. Like, that can dramatically affect you as a person. And
you feel like there's always people wanting something from you. You know, they don't just want you because they're your friend. They want you because they can get something out of it. Like, hey, can you repost my song, or can you do this? It's hard. It's probably hard to find actual friends in the industry. You know?
Yeah, man, I'm a real believer that I see the positivity out of every person, and even if a person is like, hey, can you do this for me because you got a bigger reach than me or whatever, and you try to help me, blah blah blah, and I'm like, you know, I always try to see the good out of it. Every person is just the true human nature is to do something positive and not kill each other.
Sure.
You know? And so that basic fundamental value, I think, is crucial to kind of just, you know, have a bright spotlight on at all times, you know, as opposed to like having your guard up, you know, like thinking that every person is out to get you in a negative way. You know, you really can flip that thinking around. But you always do have to have, of course, your personal guard that comes from deep inside.
Your inner self, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, the same thing when you walk across that road. You're like, is that car going fast enough to hit me?
Yeah.
To have enough time?
Who are some of your larger mentors and role models who you still look up to today, and who you're still in contact with, who helped you ultimately pave the pathway to, you know, have you and, you know, have the success that you have, and to be able to touch and reach the fan base that you have all over the world?
I look at mentors on many different levels. It's kind of like some of the people that I spend a lot of time with is my friend Ron Burley. Shout out to Ron Burley. I know he's watching or listening right now. We formed a relationship. He's an amazing person, and he's in a technology business, and he is very successful in every way, and he taught me so many things about myself and about how to kind of life lessons and things and stay on my path, because it's not easy for anyone, and we work hard every day, and we got to peel ourselves out of bed, like, it's not easy like huge bodybuilder in a gym. He doesn't just wake up and say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm super stoked." Like, he's probably peeling himself off the couch many days, if not hourly. Forcing himself to do what he knows, or he or she knows what they need to do to be able to accomplish their goals. Doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter, like how many friends that work really hard around you. You have, still it's so hard for every single person, and so he's a real mentor that has really shaped and kind of who I am and my identity, and it at least keeps me on track. Michael Shreve, like I was talking about, still to this day, every time we talk, we keep in contact regularly. I haven't talked to him for a while, actually. He's still an incredible soul, an incredible person. He taught me the kind of the concept of when he joined Santana it was just at the right place at the right time. He was walking into the studio as the drummer who I think was fired or couldn't do the gig or whatever was walking out. Wow. And if he wasn't there, then it wouldn't have happened. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's luck. That person's really lucky," or whatever. We obviously create our own luck, and the more it's this spiral. It's luck begets luck, right? So. If he wasn't the person who he was, if he wasn't a really nice person, if he wasn't a great drummer, if he wasn't this and that and worked on these skills, consciously or unconsciously, he wouldn't have been walking through that door, And so I think it's the law of attraction, It's the magic of humanity. It's the world. Goodness begets goodness. It's like we bring each other together. And kind of the suffering can kind of locks together, it magnetizes, and then the happiness magnetizes as well. But anyways, mentors. Tim Ferriss is huge freaking component of what I've learned this year. I've listened to probably 200 of his podcasts, and he taught me that you don't have to have a face-to-face mentor or your circle of influence. Your circle of influence could be a book. Your circle of influence could be literally an animal in your life or whatever. It's whatever makes you feel a certain way and ideally influences you in a positive way. And so his podcasts, how he does his research and everything, and the people that I've listened to, absolutely incredible. It's really shaped me this year, and it's helped me get out of emotional ruts and financial ruts and this and that. He's a badass. And I've been looking at a lot more drummers lately. When I got into electronic music, I kind of like shut off everything and solely concentrated on electronic music. And then now, I'm for the past like 5 years, I've been much more of a fan of music, and a fan of drummers, a fan of people who I'm in competition, so to speak, with, and that's really helped me evolve myself. Sometimes it's really easy to get so deep into your craft that you just shut the world off, and that's cool. There's like that's how you become really, really good at something, But I think as a musician, it's really important to become or to be a fan of music out there, just because there's fan perspective and then there's the musician perspective, and they're kind of different and they're also connected. and yeah.
Who would you love the opportunity to do a collaboration with one day? Who's that one artist or just someone in general who you would love to be able to record with or be on the stage with?
As old as he is, still Phil Collins. He's my all-time musical hero and influence. Not just his songwriting, not just his drumming. Him just musically. I don't know who he is personally, but him and what he's done musically has made such an impact on my life that it's hard for him to play drums. I saw him have his son play a concert, and that was pretty amazing on the drums. And yeah.
Do you see that coming into fruition? Are you in talks with his management, or do you have your people speaking to his people? Or
no, I haven't even reached out at all. It's like it's not necessarily a goal. It's more like
a dream.
Yeah, but it's still not too late, And he's probably one person away, just like everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's kind of get into. I want to talk about Impossible Records, your label. And I want to ask how many artists are currently under the umbrella right now of your company, and ultimately, what do you look for in an artist when you're signing them to your label to ultimately represent you? Because they have to be pretty damn good to be able to be signed to your label, because you're looking to develop grids into play like what you've developed into yourself ultimately.
We're about to release our 50th release in about I think about three years or so. I don't know the exact month, how many months we have our doors open, but yeah, we're on our 50th release, and so we probably have released 45 artists or so, and we've brought a lot of artists up from absolutely nothing, at least in releases. It was their first releases. On some sort of substantial label, and that was very exciting to do that. I think it's mine. I have it on mute. It still goes off.
Good, dude, don't worry. I like Architect. That's one of my favorite artists.
Architect.
That you brought up. He's so good.
Yeah.
I like his bass.
I think he was the third or fourth release that we had. He sent in a submission. There was a remix contest. I think I met him through a remix contest that Il Gates and I did. Il Gates is a producing partner of mine, and we did this really big remix contest for our song Unsung Heroes.
Il Gates also likes to teach people a lot. He does his own
Il
online.
Gates is made it. He's probably another. He's a colleague, and I would say a mentor too. He is brilliant, and I would say that for Mr. Bill too. Colleague and mentor, and yeah, you guys should definitely, if you don't know them, most people listening who know me know them as well, and they're incredible artists. But anyways, so we did this remix contest, and loads of people who are on Impossible Records are from that remix contest. It's great. Remix contests are amazing for scouting talent, and for a person who's very talented to be heard. Let's see here. Skrillex remix contest, Spawn, many big people. I'm having a brain fart.
That's okay. So until you think about that, let's talk about just what you look for in talent when you're ultimately looking to sign someone to Impossible Records.
Musicality, like, can they represent something that is of substance? Like bass music can be really atonal at times. It can be monophonic. It can, a lot of times the drop, which is the really big part, can just sit on one note for a really long time. But it can make people go crazy at the same time. And you can have a monophonic, atonal, almost atonal song now with the right production quality, with the right crazy bass noises, with the perfectly crafted drums. But I try to look beyond that because I'm more of a musician at heart as opposed to just a producer. I'm melody driven. I'm rhythmically driven as well. So if a producer submits a song that's just boom, crack, like the whole time, I'm like, I might send them some feedback if the tune is really good. But one of my first feedback, is, can you make the drums a little, like, spice it up a little bit?
Sure.
Add some hi-hats, add some cymbals in there. Because like with bass music, with rhythm, with dubstep, it's very simplistic in the drum department, and it irks me just a little bit because I just want to hear more drums, a little bit more drums. Come on, give me some drums, So if anybody can have really stellar drum production, then that will trigger me right off the bat. And it has to be dope. It has to be really good. It has to be catchy. Has to be in with the times. Yeah, and the perfect song would be something that could stand the test of time, ideally, which is usually something with a really great melody, like a vocal, not any sounds that are going to be freaking old and outdated in a couple months or a year.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Largest crowd you ever performed in front of to this date?
1 million people.
Wow.
And that was Blake Lewis. We did the ball drop. And so there was well over 100,000 people going this way and then going that way, right, front, back, side to side, right in the heart of the Big Apple, New York City.
That'd be insane.
Yeah, kind of, we were on this float thing, and I was actually miming the drums, and the only thing that went live was the vocals, and we didn't know that we were going to mime until right when we got up there. It was freezing, it was the ball drop, and I get on the kit, and I'm like, these cymbals are stuck together. These are fake cymbals. So if you glue the same exact cymbal together, it won't make any noise at all. And I'm like, what's the deal? And the guy's like, pulls down his radio set. He's like, everything's mine except for the vocals. And we're like, oh my God. So I was literally going like this, like a freaking monkey drummer, not even playing the part at all, because we thought it was freaking hilarious because we never mimed before. And this was like a huge jumping on the bed moment.
People watching.
Yeah, jumping on the bed moment. And then right when we hit stage, we're like, it's not even live. So we were like, gotta be fucking kidding me. And so we were kind of taking a piss, and we're just like, I mean, we played the parts, but, and I'm exaggerating, but there was many moments where I was like, ugh, and it was pretty funny, because American Idol was kind of like comical in a sense as well. It's not like this band from the freaking heart and soul is going to go up there and sing their fucking guts out to this song that they made when they're freaking, when their loved one passed away or whatever, these heartfelt lyrics, this is American Idol, know. It's a show, But anyways, the other biggest one was Glastonbury. Glastonbury is one of the largest festivals in the entire world. That's in the UK, and we played for over 300,000 people.
Wow.
And that was a sea of people. That was the biggest sea of people. We played right before Beyonce. That was pretty amazing.
I think Snoop Dogg performed there one time too. I saw some audio from his show out there, and like you're saying, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people. I mean, that's talk about just rocking that stage and just the power of being up on that stage in front of 300,000 people. I mean, that must have held some depth of its own for sure.
It did. We were primed in the middle of tour. We could play with our eyes closed. We knew the set list inside and out, and which always brings the nerves down. And right before one of the greatest performers on earth, Beyonce, some of us didn't really like it because it wasn't because it was a little more family oriented, the festival. But I was like, I really understood the power of that festival, and it hit home pretty good.
Yep. What are some ways that fans can? We don't ever give out people's contact information on the show, but are there ways that people can reach out to you on social to be able to send in some stuff that they're proud of, or you don't like to give out any social media avenues, or can you give out management, or is there any way that fans can ultimately reach out to send you in some of their music to check out, or you don't really do that?
I do. Anybody can read. I'm pretty visible. I'm pretty out there. Anyone can pretty much tweet at me. Twitter is really great for seeing messages, seeing tweets. When someone tweets at me, I see it. And that's just KJ Saka, KJSAWKA.
Okay.
Twitter, Facebook is Twitter, or Facebook is KJ Saka. Instagram is KJ Saka. Some of the messages I don't see on Instagram or Facebook, they pile up, but Twitter is a great one.
There you go. And what do you enjoy doing on your off time when you're not performing, when you're not like in the groove, when you're not like the brain isn't trained to be performing in front of, 800 people or 300,000 people? What do you enjoy doing?
Driving his dogs nuts.
If I'm not doing music altogether, right?
Just totally off time. Totally KJ Saka off time. You could be, anywhere in the world. It's just you and your time.
I really enjoy listening to the podcast. There's thousands and thousands that I can never get enough of them, and all the book recommendations from that.
Hopefully, my show will be at the top of your list for your new podcast.
100%. I'm gonna put it in my iTunes favorite.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm eager to check out your podcast for sure. Exercise, fitness is huge for me. I can't really start if I skip my fitness routine, then I have this sludgy feeling. So fitness is really big. If I have some off time, like I have a lot of off time when we're touring, and it's time that I probably should be just locked into my laptop producing music and dealing with all the label stuff. But we have lots of time to chill and kind of I look at it like when there's a show, especially a big one, it starts with right when I wake up. And so I'll do a much bigger fitness routine that day, get myself nice and tired, probably do a spa or something like that to kind of nurture and especially if there's any sort of spa service at the hotel. I think more people need to dive into that and take care of themselves. Freaking oil up their skin, get massages, because there's so much toxic energy that is swelling our veins, and we need to release a lot of that. So that's what I do. I start with the transformation kind of at the beginning, and then boom, try to deliver the best performance.
What do you still hope to accomplish musically? I
hope to play drums on stage until the day I die. I wouldn't mind croaking on stage, honestly. I realize that's what I was born to do, is play drums on stage specifically. Next is produce music and be a part of a great producing community. I hope to do that till the day I die as well. And be a mentor, I guess.
And let's talk about a guy like yourself, to your caliber, and one of the guests watching our live show here at Studio 110.live, we're a national, international show, classified you as the best drummer in the world in his opinion, which is,
I agree with that,
which is a very, very, very nice thing to say, KJ. With that being said, I wanted to kind of lead into, we just kind of talked about off time, and we talked about how you prepare for your shows, and we talked about Impossible Records and the type of artists that you like to sign and the type of talent that you're ultimately looking for. When we kind of tie in fashion, because you see a lot of artists, you see a lot of drummers embarking and putting out clothing brands and clothing collections, does that interest you? Are you doing that, or do you just want to really be solely focused on just being just a perfectionist at being, like a lot of people say, the best drummer in the world?
Absolutely. I think it's important to expand your brand, whatever brand it is, and it's definitely not off kilter to dive into the fashion world. My wife is an incredible fashion designer, Corey Carlson. And we actually we designed this shirt.
I was going to say, I really like that t-shirt, man.
Yeah. So this is
Midnight Raver.
This is Midnight Raver, and we did a collaboration with them for our first Impossible Records showcase.
At Foundation.
Tonight or tomorrow night is going to be our third Impossible Records showcase. And we have this infinite triangle as our logo, and then these are all different moons and things like that surrounding it.
Why don't you show your fans the cameras right there?
Yeah, This is pretty cool.
That's a really cool T-shirt. Yeah.
And then it shows all the performers on the back, like a tour T-shirt, you know. But yeah, you know, we have. Let's see here. My artist just sent me a brand new KJ Saka shirt design. I have a variety of KJ Saka shirt designs. They're good. We're still working on. I don't have the greatest eye for coming up with amazing fashion specifically. I'm much more musical mind, but it can always be. But I'm learning every day, and so man, like fashion accessories. You know, I have my own stick.
You should have seen what he was wearing before he joined Pendulum.
Oh man, I went through years of identity crisis. Years.
Plaid, the Jinko jeans.
Jinko jeans. So before I went with Blake Lewis, I still had Jinko freaking jeans on. These huge baggy jeans, and Blake's like, bro,
you gotta get you all black.
Bro, you got. So
hey, but that's fashion though. Everybody, you still see people, and no offense and no disrespect, you still see people wearing True Religion jeans.
Yeah,
they've been out for some time.
They last a long time, and I'll give you that. Because I still have some True Religions.
Okay.
I've made it through 4 years of Nolan. So
I'm just saying that I personally, and this is just Dirty Harry speaking, I probably wouldn't be seen ever wearing a pair of True Religion or Rock Revival jeans. The ones that have like the embroiderment on the back, back pockets.
You used to wear them though, right?
I used to wear them when they were cool. Yeah.
So I've handed down and passed on a lot of my old clothes, and my friends still wear them to this day, and they've lasted like 10 years. Yeah. And every time
I'm wearing one of his shirts right now.
Yeah.
The shirt I was wearing had some stains on it, so I didn't want to come on here looking.
Stains.
So I mean, it would be cool to talk to you, KJ, offline, off the air. It'd be cool to talk to you just about revamping and just kind of talking, the overall merch side of the business. Just I manage a group out here called the High Troller, and we just teamed up with Fan Stereo, a headphone and accessory speaker brand out of New York City.
He also knows who they're combining with that on the back end.
Fan Stereo?
Can't talk about.
You talking about Fan Stereo?
No, I'm talking about. I can't say it online because
we'll talk about it.
This guy.
I know too many things.
We'll talk about it off the air, but I'm always into fashion and incorporating deals into place. So if you're ever interested, we could speak about it offline, off grid. With that being said, one of the last remaining few things that I want to discuss is, with you being such a iconic, well-respected, well-renowned drummer, I would imagine that your sponsorships and people are always sending you things. I mean, whether it be new sticks, new cymbals. Yeah. New, just every component to an amazing drum set. So, I mean, do you have a special area in your house, or do you have a warehouse just for the product that's sent to you to try out? Because
I have a lot of drum sets, and I got to give shouts to my sponsor, Tama Drums. I love them to death. They've been so good to me. My cymbal companies, Meinl Cymbals. These products are so expensive, and they're so expensive to make, and sometimes the profit margin is not really that much. And drums specifically, and guitars makers, they really value these relationships because it really helps spread the word. When you're playing in front of 100,000 people and you see the Tama logo on my bass drum, that really, really makes a big impact for that company. And I probably have six kits from them. Every kit is thousands of dollars. I have a kit in London. I have a kit here in Seattle, and I have the remaining kits that I took with me to Los Angeles. And I have my old kits that still work great.
Are there some that you'll never take on stage? You'll never even use? They're collector items. They're either too expensive, or they're just one of a kind, made specially for you, and you just want to keep them pristine in the boxes.
Yeah, my first sponsorship, RJS Custom Percussion, is my really good friend Paul Hupler's dad. He made me a drum set from scratch, and I still record with it to this day. A tiny little bass drum and a really big Cannon bass drum, tiny little tom. And some small snares, and it was perfect for my style at the time, and still is. This was years before. That was my first sponsorship. It was years after that I got the rest of my sponsors, And that was a really big deal because drums were expensive, and these were nice drums. It's my favorite color. It's like a dark wood, and those are in my house, and I save them for special recordings. I'll probably never put them on stage ever again. Yeah, and cymbals. I have some old cymbals that I'll never play again. That are like really, really old. That were from like the 1920s. Some of my cymbals that I crack, I sign and I send to fans, and I think that's probably one of the coolest things that a fan could get because it's like a really big thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Frame it up and sign it for them. Drum heads are the same. Broken sticks. Yeah, they give me what I need when I need it, and I pump them up on every post and do drum clinics all around the world. And yeah, I couldn't be here without my sponsors. Just like any athlete or yeah.
What do you feel the electronic dance scene is still missing? Like, what's that one component that's not into groove, into play that we're still lacking as a music business today?
Not on stage, a music business?
Just in general, like in on stage, the music business, everything about the electronic dance scene to a degree, the one thing that you feel is still lacking in the movement.
It's a tough one. People always, as far as stage, people were complaining about DJs not playing anything, not having an instrument. Now I think that that the producer's instrument is the DJ decks. That's their instrument, and they kill it. They're really good at it. And if people kind of understand that it is an instrument, and as long as they use it well, and people can see them using it, then it can suffice as an instrument. But for me as a musician, there's nothing like seeing a person perform what they're doing.
Sullivan King, for instance.
Yeah, he's an example of a bass artist who actually brings out his guitar and he sings live. He's still behind the decks.
Amazing. Really cool.
I like DJ events, especially in the club atmosphere. When it's on a main stage, they have to accentuate it with lights, lasers, a really big like podium for the DJ to be up on, because it's just a small, tiny little person on a huge stage, and like, what are they doing? Me as a drummer I have this huge, I got the biggest instrument out of any musician, a huge set of drums. I have a symphony around me of sounds and melodies. I can make a bass line, I can make a rhythm part and a melody all at the same time. And I would like to personally see way more live musicians do really heavy, hardcore electronic music. I think it'd be amazing. Because a lot of times, it waters electronic music down when you have a lot of musicians. It's not as edgy. It's not as like rich with like dirty bass, and that's why people love electronic music, because it's out of the box of most live music. So that's the music part. And business wise, oh man, like, it's gone down the shitter as far as, no one can sell music anymore. It's a totally different model, and which it's evolving. Everything's evolving, and we want everything to evolve. There is no such thing as selling CDs. There's a little bit of vinyl sales, but it's all going to streaming. iTunes is closing. Apple Music now, you can only stream pretty much. I think in the next year, really soon, you're not even going to be able to buy music. My mom went and tried to buy my album. She couldn't even buy it. She just had to stream it. It's interesting because at any moment, all the music that we love and listen to can just be pulled from us. Like, we don't even own it, and I find that a little nerve-wracking. But I'm sure technology is going to catch up with it. I'm sure the world is going to make sense of it. But it's a pretty big blow. I see all my friends' royalties drying up because music is not being sold. There's less and less music played on the radio. The pennies, the dollars that people do get from radio play are drying up, and that's why people artists demand such big fees when they play. But
Maybe that's where Future Net's going to come into hand.
Well, Future Music too. Just everything that we're doing here with Ryan. Shout out to Ryan. I hope he has safe travels back to Seattle. He's
Kevin doesn't know much about Future Net.
Well, we'll get my show producer and assistant Phil Kevin in on FutureNet and let him know what we're doing here, because we're doing some really big things. I think he saw one being my launch party, which was big. We had including you, we had other celebrities, other big figures here in the building, and I think what you just said was interesting, man. I think that's why we see a lot of artists, staying independent. Look at the success that Macklemore had. He could have signed that big deal with Warner Brothers. He inked a small deal with them. He's selling out key arena shows left and right. When he does back-to-back shows. Yeah. And, representing Def Jam Records when I did before I went into radio, and I was in radio 19 years of my life, like you said, the business model has completely changed. People aren't listening to radio like they used to. That is a fact. People are watching podcasts right now, listening to podcasts. They have their online music libraries, embedded into their phones. Labels right now are just looking for that one hit, and it's kind of more of like a conveyor belt where they're just looking to sign that artist, get that one hit out, and it's not much money that they've lost by experiencing with one artist and one single, and they're not really focusing on albums. They're only really doing albums for the bigger artists, the Eminems, the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, and the Kanye Wests.
Yeah, I mean, we can dive deep with this. I will say that, man, advertising is just kind of a killer right now. Like every place you go, like Facebook, YouTube, Gmail, like none of these are paid services, right? So you get it for free, but you're forced to watch ads and things like that. But the real killer, obviously, as we see with Mark Zuckerberg, is what they can do and cannot do with our information. They have it all. And that's the real dollars. It's not necessarily the advertising.
The data.
Yeah, the data. So I would be perfectly happy with paying for all these services, and then we could kind of have ownership in them. Like we actually own our YouTube channel.
You're talking Harris's language right now.
Yeah, we own our Facebook. Like, dude, like kjsocket.com ideally should be my hub for everything. If anybody wants to go there, that would be my main tool. But it's not. It's spread out all over. And I understand. I think it's great to diversify. It's interesting though, but because it's totally controlled by these corporations.
Like Facebook, and I don't want to cut you off, but what you just said is very prevalent to what we're doing here. Facebook makes about $28 billion a year. Nothing goes back to the people. That's right. What Ryan has created here with Future Music and FutureNet is something definitely to be signed up with and to be about. And I will have my assistant and show producer Erica inform you and tell you about that as soon as we wrap up this interview and get off there, because I think it's something that could definitely benefit you with the platform that you have royally. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. So, yeah.
Well, I hope it starts with the deprivation chamber, because I'm going to go deep. But on that aspect, I want to say something.
Yeah. Well, on the deep, or wait, where are you going with this?
Yeah, going real deep. I think that, man, I think we're in for a really big change in music. And it can be a good thing, and it cannot. And I actually think it's going to be part of the pie that's going to end humanity. And this is pretty morbid. But AI can already make music, and you can already program something to create a melody. We are minutes, hours, months, years, I'm not sure, but very, very close to AI creating the perfect melody for what you want to hear at any given time. Hey, Siri, play me something that's going to soothe me right now. Boom, no problem. Something brand new, something original, and it could be the next hit. It could be, AI makes it. So us musicians, it's basically going to put music out of business. There's going to be essentially, we don't have to have producers, we don't have to have drummers, we don't have to have anybody. But AI is never going to be able, at least right now, is never going to be able to play it live. No one wants to watch a robot play live. So in essence...
Well, unless you're destroyed.
Yeah. So in essence, musicians are going to be basically a big cover band. And so there is life for a performer. You look at all the YouTubers and Instagrammers, all the cover videos, right? That's huge. It's great to see a pretty face play perfectly an amazing song and a different rendition of it. And that is always going to be there, I think. But the actual song creation, the original music, it's going to go away because of technology. That's something pretty heavy.
And you know what? And we actually saw that. We saw that even a number of years ago, like with what you're saying, that you can have voice recognition with cars being built today, especially with some Teslas out there, where you can speak into the microphones what you want to hear. If you want to hear a Freddie Jackson song, Freddie Jackson. If you want to hear a Snoop Dogg song, and when Bill Gates' house was built, it has the capabilities that he can walk into any room of his house and speak the song that he wants to have played, and it will play it for him in each particular room of his they call it the museum
compound
of his compound museum. So what we're seeing now was in play, years ago when they built that house. Yeah. So it's been around, but you can see how rapidly it's growing and progressing, especially out here in Bellevue with all the tech giants that are around us. I mean, I do Tech Tuesdays on my show, and I've had some heavy hitters in here, and it's just amazing what the cell phone companies are doing with camera potentials and processing potentials, and on the automobile side. I mean, Dodge is getting ready to unveil in their 19 trucks a screen as large as Tesla's, where it looks like a cockpit of an airplane. Literally, like you have a full computer. They're coming out with those too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great that self-driving cars would come out because of the impact that the trucking industry has, the detrimental effect on the planet. But I mean, how many jobs are going to lose? Like, there's so many different aspects of everything and so many different sides, positive and negative, and just the way you look at it. Like, some people think maybe AI music creation is going to be amazing, and other people it's going to put out of work. And that's just kind of the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm pretty excited to see the future, as long as AI doesn't fuck us over. Which I think it inevitably will. Like that's the way it is.
I mean, technology is just is moving along at just a rapid pace. I don't want you guys to go anywhere. I'm still on the air for a half hour. My show producers bringing in Wes Abney, a point of contact here locally in the cannabis business. So if you guys would like to stay on with me, please stay on with me on there, because I want to get some pictures and do a video with KJ as soon as I get off there. I would hate to miss that opportunity.
And KJ's a really fun person. I know you guys have been having a serious couple of minutes, but he's a lot of fun too. So if you want to ask him anything,
I know
he's always down.
I'm all about being professional and respectful when I'm on the air with guests.
Nolan, what are you getting at? What are you really saying?
To get live. All right, we got a new guy in here.
So before we transition here to my next guest, Wes Abney here, I want to Nolan, the test is still on with proper coordinates into play for us to be able to give away these tickets for me.
Yeah,
for me.
I'm sure KJ, after sitting in, do you think we could talk to Jeff later after the show and possibly get some tickets to give away on air? For Base Canyon, you're supposed to be at Base Canyon, but you're not. Yeah, I mean,
he's a great friend. He's developed now 2 festivals that are amazing. I was supposed to be a part of it. The whole camp thought I was supposed to be a part of it, but then I was already booked for really large festivals in London. So I'm unfortunately not going to be able to be there. But he always listens to what I have to say, and we always come up with really fun, creative, collective ideas. And so that can definitely be a part of it.
And viral content. I mean, as long as we have viral content, I think we can give away almost anything for any type of show, because...
Well, that's where you shine, Nolan. That's where you're kind of, my manager in sense to lock down these types of tickets for Studio110.live to be able to give away. And also, I want to be able to broadcast on the biggest party bus with the stage.
It's gonna be so much fun.
Where thousands of people can watch me do the show live from out there at the venue. And maybe since it sounds like you're going to be in London then.
Yeah.
So maybe I know they'll
but
obviously.
For Paradiso, are you going to be here? Right.
I'm not sure what date that is.
He's got a lot going on. He needs to check with management
it's the
too.
end of June.
But if he's not here, maybe he can be on the phone with me. Just as a special guest when I'm live on the air out at the big. You're talking about the Gorge, correct?
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, I spent so many years out of the Gorge at my previous festival, Summer Jam.
Yeah.
And people like Beyonce and 50 Cent and Lil Wayne. I just remember them coming up to me and saying like, this is like my favorite venue to perform in. And they still remember to this day, too, when you run into them. You see the Columbia River below the dressing rooms, people jet skiing, people water skiing. And I don't think there's a nicer venue in the world than the Columbian Gorge.
Oh, man. Yeah, I would probably have to agree with that. You look out there from the artist's little area, and you're like, really? Is this real? Are we on Mars right now?
Yeah, it's and nothing better than on a hot day. I mean, you got to obviously, take your liquids in so you don't get dehydrated, because it's pretty easy to get dehydrated out of the gorge, and so you got to do the proper accordance. So, please stay on the air with me, and let's continue the party. Studio 110.live, Dirty Harry, at it like I do, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 Pacific Standard Time. KJ KASKA, I really appreciate not only you coming in today to be a special guest, but just the information that you provided to everybody watching and listening to the show today. It was wonderful, and I hope you're no stranger to my show. I hope you can come back in as regularly as you can. I know you don't live here, but every time you're up here, please consider this one of your homes, and I mean that. So please, and thank you, Nolan, for bringing KJ to my party and all the hard work that you do here on the team.
It wasn't hard bringing him, trust me. I told him Penthouse Bellevue. He's like,
Nolan
all right,
is the connector.
He is,
and we need. Without people like Nolan, then we wouldn't have these amazing things that we're doing right now. So
well, it takes cool people to actually invoke me to put people together and enjoy it,
So what he's saying ultimately, KJ, is myself, Dirty Harry, and you, KJ KASKA, are cool enough people for him to bring us together.
Is that what you're saying, Nolan? I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah, man, you guys are the awesome. I've always listened to Harris since I was a little kid, and then KJ I've always liked since we met. I met him before I even listened to his music. We met at a party, and we got a little wild, and then he took me backstage with the owner, and we drank Coronas in this weird dungeon for a few hours. And ever since that, we've been friends.
History was
like, weird dungeon, Coronas, I'm down.
Well, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you enjoyed my show today, and hopefully you're not thirsty. And if you are, believe me, we got more alcohol here to provide. I know, Nolan, you won't be walking out of the studio. You'll be running, sprinting to bring that into place. All right, my next in studio guest here that I'd like to welcome into the show, and feel free, KJ, if you want to act as the co-host here. We got Wes Abney here, Leaf Nation founder. I always try to tie in cannabis because if you're not into the cannabis scene and you're not talking about it appropriately on the air, what are you doing ultimately? So that's what I'm about. If you can come a little closer here to the mic. First off, welcome to the big show, Studio 110.live. Thanks for making it in.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. And you're our mutual friend, Mike Ricker, was on the air with me a couple days ago. I know he graced... I don't know how often your magazine comes out, but he was in one of your previous issues. He had a nice thing to say. He said, "Dirty Harry, you shine like a diamond." So I will be putting your magazine up right next to DJ Battlecat, some of the Seahawks, and my buddy E40 up on my wall here in my studio. So
that's an honor. I appreciate it.
No problem. It's great to have you in here. So let's talk about the magazine. Get into it. The cannabis scene is a multi-billion, to say the least, industry. It's changed a lot of people's lives on the overall health side of cannabis, in terms of allowing people to feel better in terms of everything that they're having to go through. So let's get into it. Leaf Nation founder Wes Abney here on the line with me, Studio 110.live, and let's get this kicked off. So when did the magazine? I know you're publishing 45,000 magazines monthly here in Washington, correct? And Oregon, and where's the third state here?
Up in Alaska.
Alaska. Okay. There you go.
So we started in 2010,
Okay.
right at the beginning of medical marijuana here in Washington State, and really saw an opportunity to combine a passion for cannabis, because I'm a big stoner, and I do own that, but also for education and the opportunity to use publishing to help change the way that cannabis is viewed in society. And we've been doing it ever since, printing 20,000 copies a month here in Washington, 15,000 a month in Oregon, where we are just about to celebrate our 4th anniversary, and up in Alaska now for 2 years.
And let's talk about how it all came into play. What was it about you and you being so attracted to cannabis to be able to come together with your team and put out this new, not new, but it's been around since 2010, Leaf Nation?
Yeah, I was, as a child, full on in the dare mindset. So I was like, drugs are bad. And then, you use a little bit of drugs, you consume cannabis, and for me, what really did it was getting arrested for a small amount of cannabis and feeling like it just didn't match, what was happening as far as the punishment fitting the crime. And so I went to college, worked on my college paper, nearly lost a college scholarship for cannabis, and said, hey, why don't I take my college paper experience and start a magazine? And so, we've always been focused on being cutting edge with cannabis while also, changing a stigma that goes back 100 years. And, there's people today in Washington going to the store and buying weed right now. We sell a couple $1 million worth of pot a day. And then there's people going to jail for it in other areas of the country.
Yes, there are. And you've had the opportunity to print over 3 million magazines since it's come into play, since it's come into existence, referring to Leaf Nation.
Yep.
That must feel good, man, touching 3 million people.
It's incredible. And to do it in print is especially special. When I was in college for journalism, we had a lot of professors who said, print is dying, print is dead, focus on the internet. And what we've done is try to do both, but making a sustainable print model that reaches a lot of people. And it's really fun to get to hold a magazine and have it be targeted to you. And, our magazine reaches both the cannabis industry and consumers. And we really work to present information in a way that's appealing to everyone, no matter what your age or demographic is. There's something you can learn from us, and there's something that you can benefit from with cannabis.
And let's talk about how many people are on your team. How many people are working behind the scenes to make this magazine so vibrant and so iconic, not only here in the Northwest, but in the other states that it attracts its viewers and its subscribers into the cannabis industry overall?
Yeah, we've got about 25 people on the team that are contributing content and helping create it, and then a whole network of distribution folks, and we support local printers here in Washington, and the impact is pretty big.
What do you still hope to accomplish that you haven't been able to accomplish yet within the branding of your magazine, being a Seattle-based guy with the traction that's come into play for Washington, but also throughout the country?
The goal is to be a full nationwide publication, and so that's kind of the concept of Leaf Nation. Is we have our magazines: Northwest Leaf, Oregon Leaf, Alaska Leaf. Next is coming California, which will be 3 regions: Hawaii, Boston, or Massachusetts, Florida. We've got a whole list of places we want to go. But really, we want to build a community of people who take back, the stigma of cannabis and say, hey, we want to be a community that is looked at positively, and then really change the world with that. Because we're a strong demographic, and we're a demographic that's been, pushed against. And so it's time for us to say, hey, we don't want to lock people in cages for plants anymore. We want to treat drug issues like social health issues, and then, look at other issues for the country, because there's a whole bunch of them.
Amen to that.
And let's talk about some personal testimonials that you've had the opportunity when people reach out to you, whether they're reading through your magazine or you meet them at functions or public appearances or parties where people have come up to you and really expressed something on the health side of cannabis, whether it's really helping them, or just on the overall recreational side of it, where it's really impacted you, where you've had the opportunity to hear some personal stories that you just can't seem to forget.
It's amazing how often we hear stories of people's lives being changed. And, from the outside in, people might look and say, oh, it's just weed, they're getting high. But really, cannabis is so beneficial across such a wide variety of medical issues.
Epilepsy, eczema, multiple sclerosis. I could keep going.
Absolutely. Cancer, even for children. Some of the things I'm proudest of is we've helped actually fight custody cases where people had lost their children over cannabis use. We've helped fight for children to have access to medical cannabis. There's a story in our issue that's just coming out about a little 5-year-old girl whose name is Maddie, and she was not supposed to live past her first birthday. And the doctors say that she is here because of cannabis. And she's left from 26 pharmaceuticals down to one natural drug, which is cannabis. And so, you see these things and you hear these things, and it's so overwhelming. And, I was talking with someone at my gym the other day, and I was like, have you tried these CBD candies I gave her? Because we do a couple of edible lines as well. And she's like, no, I'm a little nervous. I didn't really believe that it would help everything that, I've seen the research says it does. And I said, that's why it was illegal for so long and why they're trying to push for it to be so controlled, because it's a plant, it grows in the ground, but it really is something that can change your life. And I believe personally all use is medical, even recreational use. Here in Seattle, it rains all the time. So you go outside and you smoke a joint. Suddenly your day feels better. That's a wellness factor. So if it's not causing you harm and it makes you feel better, it is a wellness thing, and it's a medical thing. And while we call it recreational, it's not about getting stoned. It's about being enlightened.
There you go. If you're just tuning into the big show right now, Studio 110.live.
I agree with you a lot, bro. I'm 100% on that.
There you go. If you're just tuning into the big show right now, Studio 110.live. Dirty Harry back at it. What a great show it's been today. I've had the pleasure to have the iconic name KJ Saka here in the studio. Nolan, and of course right now we've got Wes Abney, and you're the Leaf Nation founder. What do you hope to accomplish? So someone like a lot of people, to a degree, who have never opened up your magazine, when they want to open it up and read it from cover to cover, what do you ultimately want them to accomplish?
I want them to get a chance to view cannabis and cannabis culture in a different light. In a light that's positive, and in a light that really highlights the craft elements of cannabis, that highlights the positive attributes of it, and the fact that we do independent journalism that's not bought and sold, no pay-for-play content, which is pretty prevalent within cannabis publishing specifically.
Okay. Either of my other special guests here, do you guys have a question for Wes or I?
What's your favorite CBD?
Ooh, well, so CBD is
strain.
Strain. Ooh.
Because there's flavorful ones, but then there's ones that have effects on your mental.
Yeah, definitely. We just highlighted one that was grown up in Fairbanks, Alaska, called the Bird.
My grandmother was born there.
It's a cold place during the winter. Fairfax?
Yeah. Fairbanks, Alaska. I've had the opportunity to be there 3 times.
It is so beautiful in the summer.
May she rest in peace. So, yeah.
I thought I was gonna die. We flew up there for winter, and I was like, if the plane goes down, no one's gonna find us. Just a little hint of fear. That was all.
When were you up in Fairbanks?
It was like 2 years ago, Halloween, and the snow just started coming in. It was the first day of snow for a show.
Wow.
Little cabin in the middle of nowhere. It was cool.
Were you performing up there, or was this off time?
Performing.
How many people came out to support in Fairbanks?
Oh, like
the town.
50.
Yeah.
It was very small. Yeah.
But it was one of those shows that you'll always remember. You can do 1 million, you can do 300,000, or you can do 50, and you still remember to this day.
There's only 50 bass heads there. That's it.
Hey, up close and personal can be a lot more memorable, just because you can actually have a moment with the
Our big show was in Anchorage for the Halloween party, but then Fairbanks. Yeah, never been there before. You get to go there on business. Like, this is amazing.
I haven't been there in some time, but I hear it's the place to visit now.
And they have apparently our boy's favorite CBD growing there.
Yeah, so much good cannabis being grown in Fairbanks.
Outside?
And outdoors and indoors. And actually a 60,000 square foot solar and wind powered tomato farm up there just converted over to cannabis.
Wow.
So,
Same thing.
Yeah, but it's great, craft beer and cannabis up there, and beautiful, beautiful sights to see. But very cold in the winter. You haven't smoked a blunt until you've done it at like -15. And then the smoke actually warms you.
Yeah.
Well, Wes, I want to congratulate you, man, for being Northwest Leaf is the longest running, largest cannabis publication on the West Coast. That says something, man, because you and I both know there's always competition out there, but you seem like a competitive guy like me, and you just can shut them down, shut them down, put them in their place.
A couple of my pictures have been in your magazine. I've helped people do marketing for their cannabis companies. So
oh, nice.
Their logos and stuff I helped out with.
And cool. One amazing story that I asked Mike Ricker to discuss earlier this week on the show, and he's discussed it a few times with me, mostly offline, but he he had a mark on his face. He had a mark. He had a skin condition on his cheek, and he's obviously in the business now. He's one of the co-owners of Wham Oil, and he was able to utilize several techniques, utilizing the oil to put it on to this issue that he had on his skin. And on the 6th application, it just completely it dissolved. It went away. He didn't have to go to the doctor. Didn't have to have. I mean, he's had other situations before where he did have to go to the doctor, but for the particular occasion that I'm speaking about right now,
usually they give him penicillin for that.
He utilized oil, and it really, and seriously, it did the trick, and you can just see the power, not only of that story of how effective cannabis is on the medical side, but then you hear about people that are in a lot of pain, they're really suffering, and it's the only outlet that they have.
Yeah, I've actually seen documented photos of skin cancer falling off people's faces, full tumors that had grown, and you apply cannabis oil to it directly. And the government has patents on it for its anti-tumor properties. So, it's known about, but it's not known. And it really is pretty amazing and versatile in terms of, how you can use it. Even, I got to interview Tommy Chong about his use of suppositories to fight prostate cancer. And, it's something that can be used in every way. Wow. And more people use it in ways that you wouldn't expect than just, burning a joint.
I've used weed in a lot of ways, but suppository is one thing I have to say I've never used.
I want to try that for sure.
I've heard they're pretty intense.
Could only imagine, go straight to your membrane.
And another cool thing that I was able to do my homework on, Wes, that looks like you're about ready to embark on, is you're opening up a 420 Airbnb in Linwood.
What?
And an event venue.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. It's going to be called Hype House. It's actually the old Hyperbole medical marijuana dispensary that we've kept held onto the property in part of our network because it didn't zone correctly for 502 retail sales, which is our state recreational system. But we've got an event venue, can fit about 800 to 1,000 people, got a full B&B downstairs. Upstairs is the mock dispensary, as it was the original Speakeasy dispensary in Linwood. So it's a pretty cool space, live glass blowing, lots of fun.
Well, let me know if there's an
opportunity.
Let me know if there's a opportunity to be able to come out there and broadcast my show on the grand opening on the day that it opens, and we could put that together here with our team and get all the vehicles out there and have me broadcast live out there. I think it would be pretty cool.
We could have Levi come out and we could broadcast live.
Or I could broadcast from the venue or on top of Levi's stage. Either way, I just want to be out there. If you're that's something you're interested in.
Oh, we would love that. The Lion Pride bus.
Yeah.
Is that cool? Yeah. And then we also do the Higher Than a Space Shuttle Cannabis is within the Leaf Nation network as well. So have a lot of respect for what Levi's doing, and we often see both our party buses pulling up at the same place. Mm-hmm. Making sure.
So I think that could be something that we could talk about more offline, off grid, and get that into play. Because this summer I want to be doing a lot of live broadcasting and try to get my title sponsor Ryan from FutureNet and Future Music to hop on board with us and let everybody know exactly what we're doing here at the Studio 110.live. Do you have any questions, KJ, or?
I just want to say that I think it's a total positive effect on humanity. And yeah, definitely not just recreationally, but medically. And I hope to see it growing deeper into the red tape of government. Obviously business-wise, you said multi-billion-dollar business. That's creating a massive effect on the corporate level and things. But still, there's the drug administration that is shutting things down based on what they personally think things are going to profit.
Well, they lose money. They're
profiting on chemotherapy and things like that. That's
so sad, and it's just so destructive to the human.
So the more it can penetrate on a law level, I think that would be absolutely incredible, and I think it is. Yeah.
Do any of us in the studio think, and I'm being serious when I ask this question, will there be a day in our time that all 50 states will be legal?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My personal prediction is 10 years. But that's also kind of some hope in there.
How many medical states are there right now?
Oh gosh, we're over 30.
Yeah. So medical marijuana is how marijuana actually came to be legal. So what it is you have to go to a certain type of doctor that's okayed by the state to give someone a prescription. And so a lot of the people start doing that. But the thing is, so many people started making money because they were selling to these dispensaries and not putting down how much money they're making, paying their taxes. And so that's why the government really hopped on board with it, because they wanted to make sure they got as most money out of it as possible. But in the long run, if they really chose to stop doing benzos and stop, doing all these chemotherapies that which really destroy people from the core down, they would make more money. But because so many people's hands are in the pot, they can't do it, because in reality, there's people that have died because some of the first people that were curing cancer with CBDs and other herbs, even turmeric, you know what I mean? There's so many different ways, and I'm developing a drink, a tea. I found a herb in a different continent, and I combine it with my CBD, and I helped someone with cancer beat their cancer in 3 weeks, and they only had 3 months left to live.
Really?
That's incredible.
Yeah. So
you never told me that, man.
I know it's something that's hard to talk about on air because I actually want to live for the next 20 years of my life. But
That's pretty powerful, though. That should have come out a long time ago.
The girl that I helped, I was actually at a bar drinking, and I told her to order this herb online, and then I gave her a bunch of CBD, and I came back to the bar like 2 months later, and she started crying. I was like, what's going on? She's like, my dad doesn't have cancer anymore, and they said he only had 3 months left to live, and after you gave me the herbs you told me he's good for another 30 years, and her crying and actually hugging me made me realize, like, I really need to buckle down and do this. And so what I end up wanting to do with the two herbs that I'm combining and making an actual product out of it, I want to take a lot of the money and make out of the profits and do a animal shelter combined with a foster home, so that way kids have something to do, and I want to train the animals ahead of time so that way they're safe. And I think it would be really good for this environment around here where we can get kids off the street, give them something that they love and care about, like an animal, and we're also getting animals off the street. And I was talking with your buddy from Channel 8 about doing this, and he's 100% down with it, and that's why I'm actually more or less able to talk about it with you.
Well, Nolan, I wish you nothing but continued success on that movement. That's powerful. I wish I would have known about that earlier. We would have been talking about that.
It's okay.
But we will still continue to talk about that.
There'll be another day. There's always another day for Nolan to come around, right?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of days for good old Nolan to come around here. And I wish you nothing but continued success on that movement. Wes, so when we talk about cannabis, there's so many outlets. We talk about retail. We talk about the growing operation. We talk about HempFest. We talk about this 420 Airbnb that you're opening up. We talk about Northwest Leaf. When we put all these things aside, or we look at it from the other angle where we bring them together, what gets you just super excited? What's the one thing that gets you excited?
Ooh, it's all really exciting. Honestly, I started the magazine because I really liked cannabis and wanted to smoke it, every day and have that be my job. So sometimes the most exciting part of a month is cracking open a new jar of a new strain and getting to try that. But what's really exciting to me is the country moving forward, and really the world moving forward, and opening its eyes to cannabis and natural, herbal medicines, and, also awakening to this opioid crisis that we have. And I see an opportunity to replace something that's painful and hurting our country and world with something that's positive. And then the culture that, comes out of that. And we have such an amazing, diverse culture in cannabis because it's everyone. Everyone, every demographic, pretty much every age uses cannabis, but we have our own culture within that. And so it's something really special, and seeing it rise and become recognized, and, getting to do things like I'm starting a podcast about, kind of that topic called Leaf Life. Doing that and getting to share with more people is really exciting.
Well, great. Well, I wish you also nothing but continued success. I look forward to having you on the show again. And I want to hear more about this new Airbnb bar that you're opening up. I do a new segment on my Friday show in my 2 o'clock hour, Pacific Standard Time, 2 to 3 every Friday. Scott McKinley and I have teamed up. Scott brings in a lot of artists. We kicked the segment off last Friday. Very excited about tomorrow's show. He's got a whole...
Is that when I called in telling jokes?
Yeah.
Hey, what place did I come in?
You'll have to speak to Eric and the staff about that. I'm too busy. I don't even know. Probably top 5. So, but I want to thank you, Wes, in all seriousness, for coming in today. KJ, Nolan, my show producer Erica. It was a great show, and this is what I'm building out here at Studio 110.live, a national, international show that has the ability to reach all four fronts, from cannabis, which is extremely newsworthy on all accounts, to KJ in terms of the electronic dancing, someone that is extremely high up on it, if not the highest, if not in my opinion, one of the most respected drummers in the world, to people like Nolan to be a good outdoor agent here for the show. Your average Joe, just hanging out. Just a humble, just down to earth type of guy. So those are the types of people that we like to surround ourselves with here at Studio 110. What a great show! Just a wonderful show. And shouting out everybody that's been on the air with me this week: Brianne Rice yesterday from the Bachelor, Josh from the Deadliest Catch, and I know I'm leaving several people out, but I don't mean to do it intentionally. I just I need to start running down on my one. Jeremy from Popeye Energy Drink.
Oh, I
yes,
love that guy.
Yep. So with that, we're gonna sign off. And we'll be back at it. Studio 110.live Monday through Friday. 1 to 3. Thank you all for being on the air with me this afternoon. It was a great show. Excited for tomorrow's show. And please make this your home. When you have big stories that you guys want to put out there, put it on your social. Say you're hopping out with Dirty Harry and Studio 110.live, and let's make this the #1 podcast in the world. That's what I want to do. That's how I operate.
Watch out, Joe Rogan.
Yep, let's do it
for you.
Cool. Let's do it. And people like KJ and Nolan and all of us here, Erica and West, we have the right team in place to make that happen. So, with that being said, we're going to sign off. And if we had a barbecue grill out here, I'd be putting some veggie dogs on that damn thing.
100%.
Yep. But
I like meat.
Well, you put meat on there too.
Yeah, you could. You like veggie dogs?
I love veggie dogs.
I do too.
Meat. I love meat dogs too. I want to put a veggie dog inside a meat dog.
We should do that. We should try that. Let's do that.
I'd love to do that.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Would it be a Vegeta?
Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, Seattle, the entire nation, internationally, and we'll look forward to talking to you and seeing you tomorrow. With that being said, peace. It's Thursday, one more day until the weekend, and get the party started. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your afternoon wherever
Stage
you're listening.
Friday night.
Stage, yes. Nothing but success for all of my guests today in the future for all their careers. And super excited again to be back at it tomorrow. Studio 110.live. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, evening, wherever you're watching, listening, whatever time zone you're on. Be safe out there, and I look forward to being back with you tomorrow afternoon. Good night, y'all.